Good morning, friends. Ash here, NPNP News. It is January 14th, 2026, and there's a lot of different interesting things happening right now. There's a silver issue, right, that we need to talk about. What's going on with silver, really? Why is it running so hard, right? Why is the price of silver in the overseas markets in places like China, Hong Kong, trading at $100 an ounce already, but in the United States, the price of silver is not $100 an ounce. It's $91.58 an ounce. It was up as much as $5 in the early trading today. And the other day, the last, I don't know, I've lost track. I mean, I remember I was thinking about when silver was back at $29 not that long ago, less than a year ago, I think it was, that I was thinking, should I jump in and buy another position and buy more? Now they're saying historic demand will extend call wait time and delay shipping. What's going on with silver, right? Why is the price of silver not the same in overseas markets as it is in the COMEX? Why is certain whales taking their, why are certain whales taking their silver out of the COMEX markets completely? Why would they do that? And are they taking them overseas to sell them at inflated prices, or are they also having paper contracts that they buy in the COMEX, and then they take delivery of those silver contracts in overseas markets where the gold is worth as much as $12 more? People have exposed what J.P. Morgan and other banks and others were doing. It's silver arbitrage, right? They're trading on, they're controlling the price of silver in two different markets and making it worth more in one other market, where you can take your gold from the COMEX and move it overseas and trade it. Why wouldn't, so the flow of silver is moving out of the United States to China because, and overseas to the east, because it's worth more money there. Why wouldn't I sell it in those markets? Why would I sell it in the COMEX and get paid less? Silver's at 91.58, up $3.93. Gold's been running along with silver, and now it's at an all-time high of $4,629, up $24.90 today. Platinum's up $63.30 to $2,397.30, and palladium's running like I said it was going to. Remember, it was just at 1,600. Remember, we were thinking, yeah, it's good for a double. Why not, right? They all are, because they're all going to run. They're all, and silver is used in way more things than you realize. Not just military components, but also computers and other kinds of things, different products. A lot of them involve silver inside of them. It also is, silver and gold are valuable for different reasons. So if you have been stacking gold and silver, then you would say, you've been doing the right thing. Your money's been appreciating at a massively, silver is up, I think, over 100%. I don't know, what was it? Some massive amounts, right, for the last year or two. Here's silver trade. J.P. Morgan sells entire 200 million ounce silver short position and flips long 700 million ounces, 750 million ounces. They were the ones that were shorting the market. Now they've flipped the position, right? They've gone long, which means they think silver's going to go way up. Silver's got to adjust to the price that it is according, right? Like it's 15 to 1 gold to silver. It should be, they're saying it should be 15 to 1, which means that silver should be $300 an ounce. Is that where it's going? I think so, and higher, because it's been suppressed for so long. It's now like, it's like a rocket that you've had at full blast and you're holding the brake, and you let go of the brake, it just takes off, right? When these guys peel out. So Iran is going through a bloodthirsty period right now, where it's now, look at this. People have to look through body bags to find their loved ones who may have been murdered by the state, right? The state is doing extrajudicial killings, is what it's called, right? They're just killing people wholesale. There's no trial here, right? They're taking bodies to the morgue. You better look through the body bags and try to find your loved one before they're taken away. People are being murdered, shot, killed in the head, right? Shot. And their families have to go through body bags to try to find them. Imagine having to do this. This happened in New York too with the certain things. These guys are shooting live rounds into crowds. You got to be extremely careful right now. And we don't know what's going on. And I mean, look at this guy. He's got a shotgun and he's just shooting it into. Is that real rounds? Because if it is, he's killing people wholesale. These guys got long rifles. These guys are going to have a real debt to pay, these cops who are doing this. This is Daily Mail, Daily News coverage. Or from the from the New York Post. So what else is going on? We got silver running. We got, just to take care of some business of our own. It's X.com. Just recently, when I tried to post my latest show on X.com, they said, well, we're going to need a phone number now, all of a sudden. You've been posting on here for, I don't know, I've been on there for over a year. And now all of a sudden, X.com says, we need a phone number or else you can't post here anymore. So they want to dox everybody on, right? They want to make sure they know who you are. And I don't want them to know who I am. It's none of their business. I post a show where I'm a news pundit, right? And I tell you I'm a news pundit up front. And I tell you that I don't make any money. But that doesn't mean I have to show you and tell you my name. I'm just doing this because I want to do it. I want to look for the truth. You're just along for the ride. Remember I told you that a long time ago. I'm looking for the truth and what's really going on. My motivation is not financial. I have my own money that I don't need to take yours, right? I'm looking for the truth. I don't have any other motivation than that. That's a powerful place to be in, right? Because I don't care about money. I don't care about being taken off my path. My path is I want to know what's going on. I want to find out what happened to me and other people like me and what's happened to us all as a human collective. That's really what my goal is here, and to expose truth and to hold the 5D grid down and hold my energy and keep my energy high as I go through my own personal ascension. If we're all inhabiting a sleeve, right, in a sense, having a human experience, but we're not human beings. If that makes any sense, right? You're a spiritual being having a human experience, not a human being having a spiritual one. It's the opposite. You're a spiritual being. In other words, you live forever. Your energy does, right? Your spiritual energy, your soul. That's why these people are so jealous of us. They want to sever you from that connection to source, because they don't have it. Newsom predicts a budget deficit 6 times less than predicted by the California State Agency. In his proposed budget, Newsom is predicting a shortfall of $2.9 billion, but that's much less than the $18 billion shortfall projected by the Legislative Analyst Office. I wrote, I wonder how this guy keeps a lid on all the graft going on in this state. It must be a massive operation. Yeah, I mean, just I'd heard that the money, with all the different things that went wrong, the train to nowhere and all the other fires and things that he's allowed to be set there, they said that the deficit, I thought, was in the $30 to $60 billion range. So when they go into the books of like California and New York, they're going to find so much graft. It's going to be legendary. They're already finding it in Minnesota, and that's just a small portion, right? That's just one group of Somalis doing it. Although they're now finding that they're trying to get the money out in suitcases. How long has that been going on? If you're scanning every suitcase, you don't see like millions of dollars stacked in hundreds inside those bags? Sure you fucking do. Unless they're doing it in carry-ons. But still, your carry-on gets scanned. It's easy to see stacks of money inside a bag. How are they doing it? Are they doing it in smaller amounts over time? It's still, you can only take a certain amount of cash out. These people are taking hundreds of millions of dollars out in suitcases on the daily with different couriers. One of my listeners was thinking that Trump's first term was so different, right? He had a lot of career people blocking him, etc. But look at who he put in. Remember how we spoke about this? Why would you put Omarosa and all these really bad people, McMaster? We're forgetting what went down. Okay, yeah, okay, well, he's gullible, but he's a political animal. He's been in the political sphere for 30 plus years. You don't think he knows who the players are? Sure he does. He's been giving a lot of them money in terms of people like Schumer, Pelosi. You don't think he was giving them money all these years in the past? Sure he was. Especially the Clintons. Especially Schumer. All the major players in it, right? So, come on, he kind of knew who was who going in. Okay, maybe he was a little gullible, but he didn't. He obviously surrounded himself with a core group of people that were massively telling him the wrong information and having him hire people that were other deep state plants all around him. So either he had no idea who he was hiring or he hired exactly who they told him to hire, right? Because if he's the chaos, if it's a chaos situation where they're going to make the chaos with Biden, they let the people flood in, there's the chaos for you, right? Then they told him, hey, start robbing and stealing. Start raping and pillaging, doing whatever you can, stabbing and raping, killing and doing whatever, robbing cars, driving drunk, crashing into people and killing them. They're doing all kinds of shit. Keep doing that, right? That's the chaos we need. And then guess who's going to come in and fix it? Trump, second term. We got this. Don't worry about it. We're going to take them all out. We're going to deal with all the problems, old and new, at once. And I love to believe that that's the truth. And it's sort of, if you look at it, does look like that might be happening. But then you start to think, wait a minute. Where's all the other shit we were told about that's sitting out there that we never even saw? How come we never can see this thing? One scrap of evidence to the positive of it, right? Like, why can't we see Gitmo? Is there people in cages? Why aren't, if politicians are in cages in Gitmo, wouldn't the press be all over that? Demanding to see it? No, there's nobody in a cage. What do you mean? The Clintons aren't even testifying. They said, forget about it. We're not even showing up. We're in contempt. What are you going to do about it? Comer. What are you going to do? Put me in contempt? You're going to put a former president of the United States in jail on contempt? Let's see it. You should. Because if another person's in contempt of the court over and over and doesn't show up, they will be in jail. Right? If you get too many contempt of courts after a while, yeah, you're going to get jail time. It could be 30 days in jail, 60 days. Depends on how much you piss the judge off. There's been certain people who have been told, hey, I'm a press guy. We need in this case we need your source for this information, and the reporter has said, I can't give that to you. Well, then you're in contempt. I'm going to throw you in jail. That's happened. Jack Smith team approved a $20,000 payment to an informant to snitch on Trump team during Arctic Frost probe. Revelation included in tranche of new FBI memos that Director Kash Patel turned over to Congress this week to provide more clarity on the tactics and scope of the inquiry that the FBI used to try to build a case against Trump and his allies. Well, we know that was fake. That was all. The way that was done wasn't proper. Remember they found that secret room, though, off Trump's bedroom, that they never talked about what was in that room. Why does Trump have a secret room near his bedroom for, right? Internet blackout in Iran amid escalation and anti-government unrest. Now they're talking about it's thousands of people dead all of a sudden because they just upped the killing. Which means that they may have infiltrated groups, right, where, that's what they do, right? Let's find the group of people that's the biggest group that's against us and start just killing them. Because that way, but it gets to a point where the people are going to say, guess what? We know who you are. What? We got you. We know who you are. We know where you live. Right, too. Is Trump going to go into Iran? And I don't think so. Because they got nukes. He has bombed them already once, though. Bolivian government announces adjustments to its economic plan. Fuel subsidies remain on the chopping block as protests continue. Is Trump doing everything second term? He couldn't do anything first term? He could have done stuff. Couldn't he have done the Tesla stuff? Or couldn't he have talked about it, at least brought it up? No, he never brought it up. Why not? All he said was, my uncle had some of his papers. Yeah, he had some of his papers. It was a whole warehouse full of his shit. What happened to that stuff? It wasn't even secured properly. You're holding Tesla's stuff in a warehouse somewhere in New York after his death? That's not top secret. I mean, it's not a top secret location. It's a regular security type of place. You don't think some CIA or KGB peeps could have broke into that? Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Back in the 50s or the 40s? Yeah. Late 40s, 50s? Easy peasy. No cameras, no stuff like that. Maybe an alarm system of some kind, but that could be easily disabled by a competent thief back in the 50s. That stuff could have easily got stolen. That's my point. Some of it, right? Sold to the highest bidder, made sure it never came out. Iran's foreign minister accuses the U.S. and Israel of fueling the protests. Is this an internal coup? I don't really think so. Because remember, there's other people inside of Iran that are not Muslim that are pissed off. They don't want to live under this tyranny of this anymore. They might be Jewish, they might be Christian or other, right? There are groups. And they're pissed off because they're sick of living under the mullah's rule, under a religious oligarchy. Trump to meet with Machado says he would accept her Nobel Prize. What, she's going to give him the Nobel Prize and he'll leave her alone? What's under Venezuela? What does Venezuela really represent? Is it somewhere where the cabal was working from? Well, the whole of South America, I mean, look at what's going on with Argentina, what they did. They allowed Nazis to come. Brazil wasn't exactly in a good relationship with the United States in the past. When our relationship with Mexico has been strained over the years. Our relationship with Colombia has been strained. What about Panama and these countries who remember what we did down there? Right? Cuba enters phase of greater vulnerability after Maduro's capture. Yeah, they don't have any more oil. They're not getting that oil anymore, and they're going to suffer for that. They want China to stop messing around in this hemisphere of the world. Stop trying to go into South America and take over. Stop trying to take control of the Panama Canal. X.com is asking me to put my phone number into my account or I can't post any more videos on their platform. I never had to do that before. I won't be posting any more videos there due to poor viewership. I'm only getting maybe 10 views or 20 or 30 views on most of these. So Godzilla vs. Kong's high-speed hollow earth trains of the dream, right? So they showed you what the hollow earth train looks like. If it does exist, here's what it looks like. This is from Gizmodo. Right? And it goes through, it's like levitating. It's like a maglev where it's like never touching anything, and it's a pneumatic tube, right? Where if I create a tube that's airtight and I pump out all the oxygen inside that tube, then a vehicle traveling within that tube can travel at a much higher rate of speed because there's less friction, obviously, because there's no oxygen. Similar to like what space is, right? If you get a rocket up to 50,000 miles an hour and then you turn the rocket off, it's going to keep going at 50,000 miles an hour, right? Because there's no friction in space, there's no oxygen. So if this is true, and I hope it is, because this looks like a really cool thing to be able to ride on, that's what it's going to look like, sort of a maglev situation, but it's a pneumatic tube maglev. Right, so it's a maglev train, which is magnetic levitation. In other words, there's trains in Europe that they don't. The bullet trains in Japan doesn't run on an actual. It's not sitting on a track. It's levitating in between two magnets on a rail, right, where it's making it levitate, but in a way where it's safe, right? I remember I worked at an engineering firm, like one of my earliest jobs, that was an Italian engineering firm where That's what they were doing, and that was like in the late 80s. They were doing maglev. So the fact that the U.S. doesn't even have magnetic levitation trains shows how far behind we are on purpose with the rest of the world. With countries like China and Japan, we're much far behind in terms of technology too, and some stuff. Tesla's Houston Street lab, you can look into that, where he had done that experiment that almost knocked the building down. They said it was an earthquake weapon, right? But it actually wasn't. He was messing around with different vibratory levels of things and figuring stuff out, right? Here's Nikola Tesla Guided Weapons and Computer Tech. This is a great site. It's called the TeslaUniverse.com. You can check that out. It's got all things Tesla. After fire destroyed the Fifth Avenue lab, Tesla rented a lab below Greenwich Village near Chinatown at 46 and 48 Houston Streets. This building is now the home of Soho Billiards. Is it Soho Billiards? Oh, I don't think it's on. Is it Soho Billiards anymore? I'll have to check if Soho Billiards is still there. What an interesting place, right? You can go check out Tesla's Universe. Minnesota Governor Walz orders National Guard to stand ready amid protests. So he's on the way out. He can't run for re-election. He's probably going to become embroiled in the Somali fraud that's going on in Minnesota and other states. Remember in New York it's like a triple scam. They're doing it everywhere. It's not just New York, right? They're using the dead people's names to vote, and then of course they're getting some kind of benefits from it. And then they could also, hey, you know what? We're a business. We're doing a daycare center, but there's no kids here. But yeah, we got a whole center. We need money from the government to help us. Oh, okay, yeah. We need books and stuff. And then you could do all kinds of other fake scams off that. Hey, we're a daycare center. We're doing a fundraiser. Would you like to give to us? Meanwhile, if you show up like the kid Nick did over there, did some actual investigative journalism for a change. How come CNBC or MSNBC or NBC or CBS didn't send anybody over to any of these businesses and look into this before? There was allegations that this was going on. Because they allowed these people in here, and now Trump has said, hey, guess what? All these Somalis got to get out of Minnesota. I'm going to kick 2,000 of them out. Omar says she was denied access to the ICE processing center in Minneapolis. Quote, members of Congress have a legal right and constitutional responsibility to conduct oversight where people are being detained, Omar wrote on X. Well, remember when those people were being held for 4 years, who were January 6 protesters without trial, without a speedy trial? Remember those poor people who were held for years in subhuman conditions with mold and roaches in disgusting cells? And when Trump tried to go visit them, what happened? The president went, right? When the president of the United States showed up and tried to visit a prison, he was told he could not enter that prison. Remember that? In Washington, D.C.? So, if Omar's pissed off about that she can't get into an ICE agency or an ICE detention center, what are you going to say to the people who denied the president access to a building? The president should not be denied access to any building within the United States, private or public. He should have access. Maybe not private though, right? No. This is a private building. You don't have any business here. I don't care who you are. Just because you're the president, does the president have the right to go to Area 51 and demand that the gates be opened up and that he be given access to all programs? No, he doesn't apparently have that right. Have you ever seen a president do it? Eisenhower tried and failed, and they said no. Which is when he threatened them with, I'm going to come back with, a military unit, and we're going to go in here. Either that or you give me some more access to what the hell's going on. And even then, he didn't get the full access. He didn't get Majestic 12 access, like 12 levels above president. He didn't get that. Until we can get rid of Majestic 12, the Committee of 300, off-planet entities, off-planet corporations, and get them out of the affairs of mankind, we're going to have a problem, right? Is my guess. How long does that take? Well, it's taken already. Some people have said this has been going on since the 50s. So if it has been, and you're thinking about it from that, then it's, are you going to live to see the end of this? We don't know. You could have if they let the med beds come out, right? They don't want everybody healthy because that shuts down Big Pharma. It shuts down Monsanto. It shuts down Pfizer. It shuts down Moderna. It shuts down all those healthcare companies. It shuts down even people making things like aspirin and shit. You're not going to need aspirin anymore. Cough syrups. You're not going to need all these health items that you think are good for you. You're not going to need that. If you actually had healthy food that was grown normally, you wouldn't need any of this shit. You'd be able to monitor your own body and self-heal, right? If we weren't messed with and meddled with and had all these cell towers all over the place pushing all kinds of radiation and signals through us, yeah, we'd probably be able to do all kinds of more stuff, is my guess. Somali state senator tells ICE to get the hell out of Oregon. This is Oregon. We don't need you. You're not welcome. And you need to get the hell out of our community. Well, actually, we are part of the United States. We do need, Oregon is part of our territory that we work in. We're here. We work in all 50 states. Now people are saying, well, we have to take Greenland. We need it. If we don't take it, anything less is unacceptable, New York Post. Why do we need it? Why is there two Trumps walking around and nobody's saying that? We don't see much of the grayer-haired, taller Trump anymore. We're seeing more of the shorter, orange-haired Trump or blonde-haired Trump. Timothy Busfield has been busted. The actor's New York home was raided after he surrendered on child sex abuse charges. He was in a mountaintop, some kind of mountain cabin that he owned. He's married to actress Melissa Gilbert, who used to be, of course, on Little House on the Prairie, who I used to watch when I was a kid. Why does Trump want Greenland so bad? Is he convinced that if he doesn't acquire it somehow, that China is going to just walk in there and take it? Is this what's going to happen in the terms of... Because that looks to me like you're trying to make the New World Order plan where the world is in zones, right? Zone 1 was... It looks like you're trying to make Zone 4 or whatever the United States will be is going to be Greenland, Canada, United States, and then South America is going to be either one or two zones right there. Or does the U.S. want to have Greenland, Canada, the U.S., and Mexico all its own, and then reshape the hemisphere that way? Because Mexico is massive. I mean, we've already taken quite a bit of Mexico. If you look at the pre-1840s maps of the United States, I think it is, or 1850s, when Mexico actually owned all of California up to the Oregon border. Mexico was much bigger. It didn't have... It also incorporated Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, right, in its original form, I'm saying. And then, of course, before that, Mexico took that from indigenous that were there even before some of the Mexicans came and took over. And you got to look at Spain coming into the hemisphere in the 1500s period, I think it was, wiping out the Aztecs, was it? I always mix it up with the Inca, but we know that the Spanish came, and what were they doing? They were looking for gold, and they went all the way up as far as Nevada, I think, and at one point looking and getting gold. So they took a lot of gold out of areas like Mexico back then, and what was later to become the United States. So it's a whole process. U.S. launches large-scale strikes on ISIS targets in Syria. So we're hitting Syria. He wants us now to go... He was about to go into Venezuela again, apparently. He's now threatening to go into Iran, into South Africa, into different places. Like, we can't be stretched that thin, right? He obviously can't really do it, and you're seeing why. We don't have the money or the resources to do it. These are just empty threats, a lot of it. Benjamin Fulford, by the way, is alleging again that this Trump is going to be removed, whatever this Trump is. The short gray-haired Trump that's being allegedly run by the Black Sun people who were running the Nazis, so he's with the Nazi peeps, if you believe that. Or some people believe that there's the real Trump is still in the mountain this whole time and he never came back out. New video from ICE shooting in Minneapolis emerges showing Renee Good stalking and impeding the agents. Yeah, this woman was training, and her girlfriend that she told to come down and help her was the one that got shot, that was driving the car. She was the one that had been stalking the ICE agents, impeding their process, impeding their movement. And another woman just today got pulled out of her car for doing the same thing. I don't know if I have it. Yeah, here she is. A woman was trying to wedge the ICE agents in between another car. People yelled at the driver, "Go, go, go," and they started smashing her windows, and here's the woman, they're pulling her out of the car. She looks like Meghan Markle. She doesn't look too happy. She's getting yanked out. Her windows have been smashed. She was detained by agents for blocking them and trying to wedge them in between another car as she clung to the driver's door. Here's the woman being detained. Of course, the press is all over the place. It's perfect. They get there. Oh, look at ICE being... They're trying to rile us up, right? What are they doing? They're separating us. They're separating us, right? They're making it so we can't come together. It's funny. I have people messaging me saying, "Oh my God, people that I know are now changing their political views, and these are people that were liberal their whole lives." I'm like, yeah, you're just realizing that's going on? Like, you're just realizing that certain people are going to just fall away from you because they're at a different vibratory level than you. You might be vibrating lower than them or higher, whatever it is. They're going to fall away, though, if they're different than you. That could be that they've actually woke up and seen the world for what it is because it's so obvious what's going on in terms of the illegal aliens being pushed in here. We're at some kind of level where the vibratory level's reached a certain level, apex, that it needs to reach where, yeah, the majority of people are awake to something's wrong. Well, they might not believe Trump's the answer or not, but what they can agree on is something's wrong, right? Something's been done to us for a long time that we don't know what it is, but we've been steered in certain directions that we shouldn't have been steered in for a reason. Disney Channel star Matt Prokop is arrested on child porn charges. So you're seeing Disney connect a lot of these kids, the stars, the people involved in it. There's a lot of people dying in Disney. What's going on there with all the deaths? Melissa Gilbert spoke out about child sex abuse just weeks before our West Wing star husband's arrest warrant. As it's alleged, she bought Christmas gifts for his victims. I mean, she could have been one of the people that was abused. She was a child star on a show where she played a child. Right? She was Laura Ingalls. Like, that show was super, super huge, right? Little House on the Prairie. Michael Lambert, what was his name? Michael Doug? No, what was his name? The guy who played Paul was like a massive alcoholic. So he's constantly drunk on set. You don't think that maybe some of these kids got abused? I do. By somebody? Maybe. And just kept their mouths shut to keep it going because it was making so much money, right? That's what happens. A lot of these stars become so big they can do whatever they want. Like Errol Flynn, and there's all kinds of rumors about these guys from the 30s and 40s and, these stars who were getting away with all kinds of stuff, orgies and doing all kinds of stuff, and the press let them get away with it a lot back then, and they wouldn't report on it. Donald Trump orders army chiefs to draw up a plan to invade Greenland. You're going to invade Greenland now? Are you kidding me? Is that what this is starting to become? And then what? China's going to not do anything, and then China will take Taiwan? And you'll just trade off, and that's how you'll say, and you'll say, okay, well, now the world's like this. I don't think so. But what can these countries do if you want to do it? What's Greenland going to do if we say we want to take it and we show up there with an aircraft carrier? Are they going to say, stop us? Who's going to stop us? Finland? I don't think so. Soviets aren't going to do anything about it right now. They'll let us take it because they're in another situation that they need our help with. Ukraine. Is that what they're going to start doing? And they're going to say, well, it's just for national security, but now all of a sudden the world's going to look like this. The United States will be Zone 4. And we'll just be Zone 4, and we'll be part of Canada, Greenland, and Mexico, and the United States. It'll all be one big country, and you could just go anywhere you want. Well, what do you think's going to happen if that happens? Well, there's going to be a lot of people moving south, baby. Why? Because there's a shit ton of cheap land in Mexico. That's freaking why. And they're going to take it all, right? And then all those people who live in Mexico, oh well. If you're not rich, sorry. You'll have to just deal with the new world that's going to be made. And if you can't, then go somewhere else, dude. But you ain't going north. Probably anymore. Because there's not going to be any programs for you. You could try, but maybe they will work out. Who knows, right? They didn't work out so well for England. For Europe when they decided to just open up all the borders and let everybody move around, right? Look at what you have now. Dramatic standoff in Minnesota as federal agents with weapons drawn square up to Ilhan Omar's woke army with tension set to boil over. So Omar's a fake hero, we know that. She's pretending to be a hero while the people that from her country who were given shelter here started to rip off this country, right? Some of them, not all, of course, but a good portion of them. It seems like thousands of them are involved in this scam. Who's really running it? Is it Waltz? Is it someone above Waltz? Somebody above Waltz, right? Doomsday plane is spotted in LA sparking panic after Maduro's capture. Trump oil and gas execs discuss $100 billion investment in Venezuela. But then, remember what the ExxonMobil CEO say? It's uninvestable. Why? Well, it turns out that the Rockefellers had control of the oil down there. Standard Oil. Not the Venezuelan people or the Venezuelan government or the Venezuelan country. That should have it should be theirs, right? It should be the Venezuelan people's oil. That should be managed by the government in a sense, right? To make sure that the Venezuelan people share in the profit of that, because it's theirs, right? If you live in this country of Venezuela, anything in the ground should be the people's, whether it's silver, gold, coltan, whatever. Why is it uninvestable? Well, you don't have a steady government in there, first of all. Second of all, who actually owns the oil rights? Is it ever going to come out? Some music I was checking out, a Tribe Called Red, I like them. They use indigenous songs and they chop it up into hip hop beats and stuff. It's pretty cool. Like if you've ever heard some of the indigenous songs that different tribes sing, it's incredibly hypnotic and powerful. Some of those drum sessions, incredibly powerful energies are created from that, right? When you get groups of people who are incredibly powerful and whoever have a connection to the earth, who have a strong connection to each other and source, who come together and make a drum circle, that has a lot of power. A lot of power. People have even said that they can change weather patterns and things of that nature, right, with some of these circles. That's how powerful they are. China to restrict silver exports, echoing rare earths playbook. So China's holding back the silver. The silver is not flowing from the east to the west anymore. It's flowing from the west to the east. Why? Because it's worth more over there. And I could sell it for more. Why would I sell my silver in the United States if I can sell it in China or in Japan, in Hong Kong, or some other city overseas where the price is $10 to $12 higher, right? In other words, in overseas, the market actually says that silver is at $100 an ounce, but here it's not. Here it says it's at $91.47 an ounce, which is $9 and change different. That's a big difference. It shouldn't be. It should be almost the same, to the cent. This is exposing what JP Morgan and others have been doing for years. They've been ripping off the consumer and ripping off the markets by artificially keeping the price of silver and gold down. And platinum and palladium as well, in my opinion. Trump sets his sights on Cuba as he threatens communist regime to make a deal before it's too late. Trump's preparing to strike Iran as he's briefed on multiple options for attacking the country. So is he going to attack? What, just do some bombs? What are you going to do? You're not going to put troops on the ground. I doubt it. He's not going to put troops on the ground, is he? I doubt it. New Jersey island owned by Venezuela could soon be taken over by major Trump allies. So did you know an island that's right off, right near New York City is owned by Venezuela? A whole island. It's hundreds of acres, over 100 acres. Remember I told you there's islands all over the place in the United States. There's islands within the Great Lakes. There's islands that you don't know exist, that are off the maps, the Google Maps. There's little small islands that don't even come up on maps because they're just too small. Where stuff could be going on that you don't even know about. There's a lot of islands actually off the coast when you go start heading out towards, Long Island that are just off Coney Island nearby where people used to go and with boats back in the old days. Too big for his boots, Marco Rubio wears new shoes in the White House ordered for him by Donald Trump, but they don't fit. Is it that hard to find the guy's shoe size out first and then order him some boots or some shoes? So this guy's walking around with like shoes that don't fit him. He looks like a freaking clown. Bronx building Mamdani used to showcase new housing commissioner talents to... Sorry, let me read. Bronx building Mamdani used to showcase new housing commissioner's talents has 200 violations after favored nonprofit ran it into the ground. So these people don't know how to manage a building either. It's really not that hard. You need to respond to tenant complaints 1, inspection 2. Right? Now, New York has inspections where once a year, if you're in a rental unit, the landlord has the right to come inside your house and inspect the unit one time a year. To make sure that 1, you have a proper smoke alarm, and also 2, now they made another rule where you also have to have a carbon monoxide alarm detector inside your apartment as well as a smoke alarm. And it's now it's a 2-in-1 system, right? The smoke alarm has a built-in other alarm in it, right? And the landlord has a right to come into your apartment once a year to look around and inspect it, which in years past was not allowed. That's how you keep track, though, of any problems in a unit. If the tenant is complaining there's a hole in my bathroom floor, that needs to be looked at right away. My ceiling's falling down. That needs to be looked at right away. That's a problem where water is leaking somewhere in the pipes and the walls and it's causing a problem. You need to fix that right away. That could cause a lot of damage in the building or molds and or both. Here's an opinion piece, Michael Goodwin. New York City's in grave danger with Mayor Mamdani's anti-policing policies. Yeah, we're in danger with him as the mayor. Here's another opinion piece. Watch out, New York City. Zoran Mamdani's huge press office proves relentless spin will be priority number 1. This is always what they do. They don't allow foreign alternate press in there. They don't. This is the same thing that happened with Mayor Adams and de Blasio. They just allow a small core of press that they control that's going to be positive towards the mayor in the most part, and everyone else who's asking tough questions is excluded. You might get in there once or twice, but they'll exclude you after a time. Renee Nicole Good is seen dancing as she blocks ICE agents for several minutes. Yeah, she's in her car all happy. Look what I'm doing. I'm blocking these guys. I'm a real patriot. Are you? Are you? What do you think you're really doing? You're defending people who are here illegally, right? Is what these people are doing. That's what doesn't make sense to me. Why are you angry? You're saying that what? ICE is taking away your neighbors? Well, your neighbors are here illegally, some of them. They need to be removed. Okay, the people on Canal Street who are clogging up the street, selling illegal purses and crap that are from Senegal and other countries, they're not here legally. They snuck over the border with other people. And they're involved in illegal sales. They don't pay taxes. They don't pay... You understand? They're not here legally. So all the money that they generate and they create here and that's given to them, some of it they're sending back to their countries. They're not paying taxes. They're not supposed to be here. And our politicians in some of these blue states are protecting these illegal aliens and giving them money. They're giving them the taxpayers' money. They're giving them illegal licenses and illegal documents. Tiny city of just 2,000 residents are fearful as Bill Gates-backed nuclear plant dubbed Cowboy Chernobyl is built on their doorstep. This guy's an enemy of humanity, I said. Gates, right? He wants to make a nuclear plant. All of a sudden. Why are you interested in making a nuclear plant all of a sudden? That's weird. Weren't you into making a shitty computer operating system? Anti-ICE protests explode across the country as irate demonstrators flood Austin and LA streets after Renee Good's death. I wrote, I don't understand the disconnect. These people are protesting a group that is removing illegal aliens from their cities. Instead, they want the illegals to be able to stay there, get benefits, get driver's licenses and social security cards, and it's just okay with them? Question mark. None of that matters? Question mark. Why should illegal aliens get to stay and take our benefits and tax dollars from us when they snuck into our country and cities illegally? That's what I wrote. No liberal can answer that question for you because it exposes the plan. Which is, I'm going to replace you with these people. You'll move out after a while because you get so disenchanted with the whole thing and pissed off, and we'll put these people into your house where you used to fucking live, in the rent-controlled unit that maybe you or your mother had, or some other person, right? That's what they're going to fucking do. Mamdani's $4 million plan for providing desperate New Yorkers relief includes self-cleaning public bathrooms. So they tried the self-cleaning public bathroom under de Blasio and it failed miserably. It was incredibly expensive and it didn't work in the end. And homeless people get in there and they'll just ruin it. They just ruin it. They won't use it, right? And it'll get all disgusting. The toilets get clogged up. People don't use it right. It's a bad idea. It's if you're coming to New York and you need to use the bathroom a lot, you're going to have a tough time. You're going to have to go into a lot of different restaurants or stores and ask them to use the bathroom. There's not public restrooms on the sidewalks here. It's another boondoggle. Never want to be on the other side of that again. Terrified Venezuelan guard on alleged new U.S. weapon. Yeah, he's talking about some of the weapons they use that were making blood pour out of people's eyes and ears. Some of those. That's what some of those radar weapons do to you when they turn the volume up to 10, right? Not to laugh, but that's what they're using on certain people. The NexRad stuff and the XRAD, whatever those things that they use, it can make you feel like you're burning. I think I've had that used on me. I remember a couple summers back, it felt like I was roasting from the inside out. I was burning. It was so hot in the city those days, but it wasn't that hot. I'm thinking, why am I feel like I'm burning up for? Yeah, because they're roasting you with these low radiation waves, trying to mess everybody up. I think they can make people get violent too with certain things. They put certain amounts of, they can make you do it, right? Make you fight each other. Apparently there's one that can make you go to the bathroom as well. So who knows, right? That's what I've heard all kinds of different things about different wavelengths they can put on human beings. Soros-backed DA threatening ICE agents' dedicated career to reducing charges for illegals. Oh, the other rumor was they used super soldiers in Venezuela. But would you really need super soldiers? That's an easy one, right? What they did. Black out the area, send in Delta, they can't went in off the roof, out of helicopters. That's not that hard to do. You don't need super soldiers for that mission, but maybe they did use them, I don't know. I don't think so. There's Delta Force super soldiers. Some people were saying, well, the whole game Halo and all that stuff was like soft disclosure of what actually some of them are futuristic super soldier programs. I don't know. That's what James Rink was talking about. Do I have memories of any of that? No, not me personally. I figure I've been genetically enhanced somehow because at my age to have the build that I have is rare. I'll just put it that way. I'm noticing a lot of genetic things that are that other people are aging faster than me and things of that nature. So I don't know, but it's hard to tell that unless you can get your files from the secret space program if they have them. And I heard that there's at some point going to be some kind of thing like that done, where they're going to come out and say, hey, listen, this is what we were doing. We were kidnapping certain people and into pocket universes, you know. Once I saw that Superman movie, I said, oh man, they're just showing it to you. It's so drastic. It's right in your face. They're showing you the pocket universe. They're showing it all to you. With the Kong stuff and with the pneumatic tube train and or pneumatic vehicles and in a, you know, high speed stuff. Inner Earth, all that stuff they're showing to you. Like crazy. Soros-backed DA is threatening ICE agents' dedicated career to reducing charges for illegals. So they're just the same thing. We know Soros, that's what he did. They allowed him to do it. He put in all these radical DAs, and then Trump had to put in as many judges as he could, and then the other side puts in more judges, and nothing gets done, right? The system never changes. You're still in a maritime admiralty law system. And then what happened when they asked that the fake person Wayne Willott, when they asked 107, he goes, no, we're going to stay with maritime admiralty law. We're going to stick with that. No, we're not going to change the law system. Why would we do that? So you see, he's with the deep state. They're trying to make you. They're trying to hack your reality, like I said. They're trying to make you create the reality that they want, and it's not working. Because people don't want 15-minute cities. People don't want this shit. People don't want zones. They want their country. They want to have an individual country where they're from, and they want to have their laws of the land of that country. Right? They don't want their country to be inundated with illegal aliens. They're tired of religious idolatry. They're tired of religious control of countries. They don't want that anymore. You'll have freedom to pursue your own religious beliefs, but not at the expense of others. Not forcing your religious beliefs on others. Not having one religion get better treated than others. Right? Government regulator may ban X within days. I think X is just no good. It's a bunch of crap. My whole algorithm was just filled with violence and nasty stuff. It was just, I don't see the same thing with Instagram. It's just a cesspool of crap now. It's not even interesting. It's AI generated images and a lot of softcore porn. It's not good. It's not the Instagram I remember from years ago. Sergey Brin joins fellow Google co-founder Larry Page in cutting California ties ahead of threatened billionaire tax. So the big billionaires are leaving. They don't want to pay that extra tax just to stay in Cali. I can go find another warm climate state like Arizona, Florida, Texas that has a better tax structure for me. And plus the land's cheaper in Texas than it is in California. Most parts. I can go buy a big spread in outside Houston or Dallas or other cities if I want, or just go super rural and buy an even bigger spread and have my company out there. Illegal alien used stolen identity to vote in multiple U.S. elections, feds say. Okay, that's one. Times that out by 500 other guys, or thousands of them, and now you get the picture. Pro-Hamas chants erupt outside New York City synagogue at rally promoted by Mamdani Link Group. Say it loud, say it clear, we support Hamas here. I don't know how many people in New York you could say do support Hamas. These are groups that are being trucked in, but the question is what's really going on here. Right? Obviously, it's not a genocide in Palestine. If it was, it would have been over by now. It wouldn't take that long to kill all those people. And they're obviously not all dead. So what's the real? What are they doing? Are they making Trump Gaza? Looks like it. And we've already gone into all the reasons why. We've already gone into the oil that's offshore. We've gone into Flynn and his connection to certain Turkish officials that he helped to secure their getting some piece of that oil before he was working with Trump. 1,600-year-old hidden mosaic room unearthed features Solomon's knot to ward off evil. Ancient residents used intricate geometric designs to protect their homes and public spaces from misfortune in the historic city of Smyrna. I thought that was interesting about knots and stuff. Israel and Hamas ready to resume war in Gaza as Trump peace deal stalls, so the war is going back on, it looks like. It looks like the peace deal stalled out. Mamdani-tied socialist CCP-tied groups lead war against Trump on ICE shooting and Maduro arrest. Leftist groups like the DSA were planning mass protests focused on opposing the U.S. capture of Nicolas Maduro. Then the ICE shooting happened. U.S. allies strike ISIS targets in Syria. UPI. Minnesota ICE operation continues, netting 10 killers, violent child rapists, but lefty polls want agents out. Yeah, that's what doesn't make sense, right? All these cities have violent people in them that need to be removed, that they're illegal aliens. Massacre is unfolding in Iran as protest death toll triples, rights group warns. Hey, you're seeing people have to go through body bags to identify your loved ones. You know how hard that is to do? How many dead corpses you got to look at first? Dreading, hoping it's not your loved one. You know what kind of constitution that takes? Do you have any concept? I don't think so. Iran security forces have killed at least 490 people as opposition protests continue. The human rights activist news agency says of those killed so far, 490 were protesters and 48 were members of security forces. I'm hearing now it's at least 1,000 or more, or thousands, which means that they've upped this, the killing is ramped up exponentially. And, you know, Iran is a country that is very, very strict rules about owning any kind of a weapon, I would assume, too, right? Think it's easy to get a handgun in Iran? Probably not, unless you're in rural places, maybe. In Afghanistan, you can get one pretty fairly cheap. You can go get a Kalashnikov for probably like under $100 in parts of Afghanistan. And with the bullets. Trump says Rubio's one in Cuba sounds good, but he strongly suggests regime make a deal with the U.S. The Cuban people don't like him, right? He does not like Rubio by the Cubans. So to put him in there and install him is like, what are you saying? You're going to invade Cuba? I don't think Russia's going to look too kindly on that. So he's not going to do that. But why is this Trump all of a sudden becoming warlike and pushing us towards, that's what some people like, I guess Benjamin Fulford is saying he's going to be removed. Well, what are you waiting for? Who is this other group that's going to be able to do it, and who do they represent? Who are they going to tell us they represent? Right? That's the question. Is that going to cause a coup to happen? If you do that, is that going to cause the country to devolve into civil war? It could. It could. Unless these people come out with the med beds right away and some really concrete shit that shows, okay, yeah, these guys weren't doing the right thing. We get it now. You're going to have to do that pretty quick, right? Because there's a whole bunch of people that if you remove this Trump, they're going to consider it, right, that way, I'm assuming. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is under investigation over headquarters renovation. I mean, it doesn't take $1.2 billion to fix this building. It's not the Taj Mahal, right? What are you putting in there? Gold walls? Gold flooring? I mean, it shouldn't cost that much. And now why is it being scrapped and looked into? Well, because you're stealing the money, I'm assuming. Massacre unfolding in Iran as protest death toll triples. I think I already posted that, so I'll just delete that one. Here's Operation Crested Ice, right? We know that on January the 21st, 1968, an aircraft accident involving a United States Air Force B-52 bomber occurred near Thule Air Force Base in the Danish territory of where? Greenland. This is called a broken arrow, right? The B-52 carrying 4 thermonuclear weapons. Now, what I didn't know at first is this wasn't just carrying 4 nukes. It was H-bomb nukes. Some of them. An H-bomb is exponentially more powerful that's a hydrogen bomb, right? It's much more powerful than the nukes that we dropped on, say, Hiroshima and Nagasaki that were not hydrogen bombs. This B-52 was on an alert mission over Baffin Bay when a cabin fire forced the crew to abandon the aircraft before they could carry out an emergency landing at Thule. The bomber crashed onto the sea ice of the North Star Bay, causing the high explosives component of the weapons to explode, rupturing and dispersing the nuclear payload across the surface of the ice. Within hours, the Air Force activated the Strategic Air Command (SAC) disaster control team and began a massive effort to recover all the contaminated debris as an operation that was known as Crested Ice. Okay, this is from a Gov site, right? Which I provided. So it's not a normal nuke, it was 4 hydrogen bombs. Livermore's involvement in the cleanup effort began almost immediately, while the hydrogen bombs on the B-52 were not of Livermore design. The lab had recently developed and field tested a new portable scintillation counter that was designed to rapidly survey large areas. The instrument, called Fiddler, Field Instrument for Detection of Low Energy Radiation, had been developed by the lab's Hazards Control Department following a previous aircraft incident near Palomar, Spain in 1966, in case of another such emergency. The laboratory immediately notified the Air Force of Fiddler's availability, and an invitation to Thule was issued to the lab's hotspot team leader, Nate Benedict, and physicist Joe Tinney on January 24th. The 2 lab employees were given only a few hours to prepare for departure and make the necessary modifications to the Fiddler to enable it to withstand the minus 40-degree temperatures at the site. Hazards control technicians and shop personnel hurriedly assembled what turned out to be a very workable heat shield, and Benedict and Tinney left SAC headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska for Greenland aboard a KC-135 aircraft, and that's where it cut off. So I was just posting some of that article was talking about. It was a broken arrow. It was 4 hydrogen bombs, and I don't know how many of them that they actually did get back. Allegedly, they said they got 3 of the 4. Fed Chair Powell says he's under criminal investigation, won't bow to Trump. The Fed Chair is under investigation. If he's removed, I'm assuming that the Fed will just be done. They're going to say it's a criminal enterprise that was connected to the and voted in by the United States Congress in a way that wasn't fair, right? They did it over the Christmas break, this stuff where they created this whole thing. Most of the senators and congressmen had gone home. It was done in the dark of night, right? The Creature from Jekyll Island, you could read that book that talks about how the Fed was created and the system. And before that, what happened? There was run-ons on the banks, but that was because rumors were created by some of the oligarchs, some of the big rich guys, that, hey, the banks might not have all your money. You might want to go get it out of the bank and put it in a mattress in your house, or put it in the wall, or put it in the floorboards, or or bury it somewhere. You might not want to keep it all in the bank just in case, right? Especially your gold pieces. Black New York homeowners blast Mamdani's radical tenant advocate Sia Weaver. White supremacy? I'm not white. Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. What are you talking about? Maybe my grandmother owned this brownstone, and now I own one in Harlem that she left it to me. I'm a homeowner, and I'm proud of it. Who the fuck are you talking about? What kind of radical bullshit are you trying to bring into the political sphere here? Is this communist talk? Are you trying to make it that ownership of homes is considered white supremacy? Maybe at one time the argument could have been made for that, back in the times when they were steering certain people. And yeah, there was sort of, it wasn't easy to, if you were of certain ethnic groups, to get a mortgage back in the 50s, the 40s, the 60s, the 50s, right, these periods, 70s even. And then what happened? There was also predatory lenders where they would know you couldn't pay the mortgage fee, and they'd give you the loan anyway. And then they'd get the house back later for nothing, right, almost. For cents on the dollar, they'll buy the house out from under you, get the house back out from under you. Because you never owned it in the first place. A mortgage is a death instrument, mort, right? It's a death instrument. Not a debt instrument, a death instrument. Debt and death, same thing. There should be no debt. Everybody should be in abundance and able to pay for land outright on any purchase. There should be no mortgages. You can either pay for something or you can't pay for it, right? In other words, you don't get a mortgage on your car, do you? Well, now you do. And right, they say, hey, you can't pay for this car. It's $55,000. So you pay give us $3,000 and you can pay us a little bit per month, right? $300 a month you'll pay. And you'll never actually own the car outright. And 3 years later, we'll lease you a new car. And that way you don't have to deal with the old one. We'll give you a brand new one now. And you just give us another $4,000 or $5,000 and you'll pay $400 a month this time. Trump addresses bombshell Jerome Powell investigation. He's certainly not very good at the Fed. Yeah, he's not. Well, the Fed's an illegal mechanism that should have never been there, just like the IRS. Trump warns ExxonMobil after CEO calls Venezuela uninvestable. They're playing too cute. Did the Rockefeller family or other take over Venezuela's oil long ago? I think so. Is that why Exxon says it's uninvestable? Could be. Somebody needs to ask Trump, do you know who owns the oil rights for Venezuela, all of its oil? Can you tell us who that is? Who is it? Is it the Rockefellers? Grand jury ordered impaneled in Fort Pierce, Florida, starting today. January the 12th, crossfire hurricane and raid on Mar-a-Lago under scrutiny may explain Obama's frequent trips to the UK over the last year. So why did they raid Mar-a-Lago? There really wasn't anything of value there. The president wasn't, holding documents in secret or something. They found that I don't believe, right? Or was he? We never really found out was there anything at fault there. Conservative journalist Nick Sortor detained in Minneapolis after driving through rioters who were threatening to kill him. So this kid was apparently surrounded by... I had heard another rumor that one of these conservative journalists, I don't know if it was him or not, was being trailed by leftists. In other words, he's in a state where they know who he is now. And people are starting to try to follow him and maybe threaten him, right? Which is not what's supposed to happen to the press. The press is supposed to be protected from that. But this kid's not getting any protection. James Comer says Ilhan Omar's at the top of the suspect list in massive Minnesota fraud scandal. Ethics complaints incoming. Yeah, is it maybe how her husband got so rich all of a sudden? Because they're saying her husband's firm got rich all of a sudden, like they made all this money out of nowhere. And now they're worth like $30 million. So is that what they paid off Omar to help with this $30 million or $20 million maybe, or 10 or 15? I think so. I think Omar's connected to it for sure. That was at a Gateway Pundit. So 2 days ago, silver went up $5.24. I mean, it's going up $5 a day. That's insane. I've never seen that. So they're trying to get silver up to cover where it already is overseas, right? Because they're laying open and exposed right now. Everyone can see the arbitrage. You could see that the price is different overseas than it is in the United States, and it shouldn't be. Who's responsible for that happening? How long has it gone on? I'm assuming it's gone on for decades. Has there always been a $12 difference? I don't know, but probably not, right? Because it's so obvious that it's a scam that they wouldn't want that to happen. And if it was going on, they definitely wouldn't want the public knowing. Otherwise, everybody would be taking their silver on a plane right now, which you can't do, right? If you're going to leave the country with a whole bunch of silver, well, customs is going to find it. And they're going to say, where are you going? Just like if you take over $10,000 out of the United States, they will charge you for that. You'll have to pay a fee. Same thing as if you bring in a certain more than 10,000. I believe they charge you for that. Silver hit 85.87 the other day. It's already at $7 higher. That was just a few days ago. Yeah, silver was at 91.30. Just a few days ago it was at 85. What's going on? It's jumping by $5 increments sometimes. That's huge. Once it gets over, it's going to go to 100 now with a bullet because it has to, because the price overseas is already 100. They can't get it close enough, right? They're trying to fix it and they can't. It'll fix itself eventually. Once the arbitrage is discovered and stopped, then yeah. But how many plane loads of silver have been flying over to China in the meantime? That's what China's trying to do. They want all the silver over there. That gives them power. Somalians plunged to bottom of America's favorability rankings as fraud scandal sparks call to halt immigration. Yeah, I mean, I can't think that there's other groups that are probably low on that totem pole too, like Mexicans, Venezuelans. These aren't too popular, right? People of certain African nations aren't too popular over here right now. Because why? Because your people are over here hurting our country. You're not helping it. Go research these people's real history. You'll see why they have so many problems, the Somalians, right? Why? Well, there's a lot of inbreeding going on in that nation over a long, long period of time. What does that do? Well, it degrades your stock, as they say, your genetic stock. Right? That's why the average intelligence of some of these countries is much lower than other European nations is. Much lower. How are these people doing all these scams? Are they being told how to do it? They're being used to do it? I'm assuming so. Trump warns Greenland to make a deal with the U.S. before Russia or China takes it over. Their defense is 2 dog sleds, apparently, according to Trump. Yeah, well, no one's taken them over yet. Why are you so interested in this country? Is it because there's a H-bomb that may be laying in the bay underneath there that you never got back, that you need to get back in secret? Or is it because you want it for strategic reasons so that China or Russia doesn't take it over, which they haven't in all this time? It's pretty obvious, I wrote, what the blonde-haired Trump is doing. He's pushing us closer to a war with someone, most likely Iran. That's why you see no medical beds, I meant to write beds, I wrote BEDA. That's why you see no medical beds, no Tesla towers, etc. He won't ever implement them. Why won't he do it? Well, because has he ever talked about it? He talked about the med bed once, but then what happened? Nothing, right? All right, so we're still waiting on those beds. Where are they? Where's the first center? Why aren't you opening them up? Do you have enough? You should, if you've been making them in secret all this time. Trump's motorcade had a reroute after a suspicious device discovered by Secret Service near the Florida airport. I wrote, Benjamin Fulford's page is again alleging that the fake blonde-haired Trump will be removed soon. What does that mean then? Does another Trump get put in? And how can you verify for me that Trump's the real one? See how that's going to open up a Pandora's box, as they say? Which is what Mike Gill's still talking about. He's going to open his Pandora's box. Well, why don't you just open it then? Or is Trump going to use the information? But the problem is that Trump's in the Pandora's box. He was using his, in my view, from the research I've done, he's used his casinos to launder money in the 80s. That's why they all went out of business. That's what they're meant to do. Once you can't launder any more out of it and you sucked all the resources out of it, you go into bankruptcy. Right? It was never meant to flourish. It was meant to go out of business at some point. After all the resources are laundered through it and all of its resources are taken and stolen. That's the mafia way of doing it, right? Heineken boss quits as the young shun beer. Yeah, well, Heineken tastes like shit. Sorry to say, in my opinion. It's sour as hell. It's a crappy tasting beer. I never understood why it was sold so well. Tastes like crap. So does Budweiser and a lot of these other beers. I never liked this beer. It's bitter. Doesn't taste great, I wrote. Maybe the young don't want to drink poison anymore. Maybe they see through the facade that it corrodes their connection to source. It corrodes their connection to self. Is what alcohol does too. It takes you away from yourself. It lets the spirits in. It's a spirit, right? It opens you up to spirits. And to bad stuff. Which is why so many people become violent. Not everybody when they drink. A lot of people do, though. Especially if you're drinking things like tequila, the brown liquors. bring out the worst in people. Tequila is one of those that's not a brown liquor per se, but it does bring out the worst in people also. What's in tequila that does that, we don't know. Some chemical. The young aren't drinking beer anymore or liquor as much as they used to, which is just destroying those, right? Which is good because it's bad for you. It's a refined poison. And what I was talking about, the alcohol poisoning program of 1925, what the government starts to do, and I forgot to mention this, is so many people are using government certain alcohols like rubbing alcohol and things of that nature that aren't meant to be consumed, but in small amounts are being added to, mystery brews that people are creating, bathtub gins and things of this nature. People are turning their homes into small distilleries. Even in Manhattan and places like this, people are doing this in secret, and nobody knew it. Of course, you could smell it, because alcohol becomes so valuable because you've made it illegal, right? And so there's all these illegal speakeasies pop up all over the United States and in parts of the cities too. Major cities like New York, Chicago, Boston have all kinds of secret speakeasies all throughout them with people drinking. Now the government knows that people are doing this, and they decide to poison all these alcohols while they tell the people there's not exactly a mass information campaign put out in that time period that says, hey, guess what? We're poisoning all this. Don't use it to make fake alcohols for yourself or any bathtub gin. You're going to die. And if you go look up New Year's Eve on, I think it was 1925 or 21 of those years, all these people in the in New York City became ill one year and were just dropping dead because people were making these some of these alcohols, were using some of these kinds of alcohols that had been poisoned and nobody realized it. And people were literally poisoned by their own government. To the tune of maybe 10 to 20,000 or more people died this way. So that's a lot. That's what the United States government did to its own people, by the way. So you don't think they'd poison you now? They already have been for the past 5 years with the COVID nonsense. Opinion piece, New York Post. Somali scams expose a toxic brew of wokeness, welfare, and immigration. Yeah, they used it. All these poor immigrants, right? We got to help them, and they're being hard. They're fleeing things in their own country. But all right, well then, why are you coming here and doing crime? This is what happened with some of the Irish that came here too back in the day. Not all of them, of course. Most of the Irish are God-fearing, law-abiding people, right? Beautiful culture, of course. Same thing with any culture, but there's small amounts that became criminalized, right? Who came over here and became criminalized and grew to massive power. People like Dutch Schultz and people like, different groups, right? Who was Dutch Schultz? He was a Jewish gangster, right? Different people, right? Before that, there was Irish gangs that controlled everything for a long time. Until other ethnic groups came over, like Italians, Jews, and others, and they ganged up and became some of their small amounts of their populace became criminalized the same way, right? And ganged up and became incredibly powerful. Look at Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky, people like that. People actually fixed the World Series, right? In 1918, they actually fixed the World Series. Opinion. With Sia Weaver, Mamdani signals the dangerous truth of his housing plan. He wants to demonize anybody owning land and homes. They want to start to take those homes away from these people. They want to demonize all homeowners as white supremacists who are taking advantage of the populace, which is not usually the case, right? Most landlords, they have a nice building and they take care of it properly. Are there bad landlords? Sure. There's a whole list of them in New York that don't do the right thing, and that's because there's problems with enforcement. There's people being bribed. There's people, like I said, within the New York City Department of Buildings that it should be removed that are probably not doing their jobs. Because if they were, they would go through these buildings with a fine-tooth comb the way they're supposed to and note all and any violations and not allow any building owner to bribe them to overlook certain things, which is in the past what's happened. And sometimes, not always. But there have been some building owners who have bribed people, and Then you see all of a sudden a building collapse, or inside the building something collapses, and you say, how'd that happen? Aren't there inspectors that go through these buildings every year? Well, not always. It looks like they are, but like same thing with an elevator. If you have an elevator in your building, there's someone from the Department of Buildings should come through and look at that elevator and make sure that the records of the upkeep of that elevator are proper, that it's been maintained properly, right? That wasn't always the case. Trump's latest deal, we're talking to Cuba. Are we going to take over Cuba now, like we had, make it like it was before with the casinos and everything? That's the way the mob had it. Remember in the 50s? They were making a fortune down there in Cuba, the mobsters, because they had control of casinos. They used that prohibition cash that a lot of those ethnic gangs created a lot of money, right? Jewish gangs and Italian gangs in the 20s got mega rich off prohibition. Trump says Tehran is seeking talks but warns U.S. may need to act first. Well, they got to remove the mullahs. Judge blocks Mamdani's bid to slow sale of 5,000 New York City apartments. Mamdani had previously directed the city to intervene in the bankruptcy of more than 90 buildings comprising roughly 5,100 rent-stabilized apartments owned by Pinnacle. Here's a big company that's going out under that has 5,100 rent-stabilized units, which is a lot, right? It's important to keep these units in rent stabilization, which is even high, right? I mean, even the rent-stabilized rents in New York are too high for people to pay, I think. Way too much. And Mamdani was actually, I think, trying to do the right thing, but now an Israeli company is going to buy these. And the question is, do they have enough money to fix all the problems with the buildings, bring them up to code, and yet keep it in, some of these people don't want to keep them in rent stabilization. Their goal is to remove these apartments from rent stabilization at some point when the tenant dies. Usually, in rent stabilized units, the people stay in there a long time, sometimes many decades until they die, right? And when they die, the landlord is usually going to want to gut that unit and renovate it, and then use that renovation cost as an excuse to exit it out of rent stabilization and get a market rent for that unit, which could be as much as double the rent or more. Double the current rent. That's what the problem is, right? It's creating housing isn't hard. You can rezone areas, you can rezone industrial areas as not industrial and allow builders to come in and build. The question is, can the city build housing itself that is cheap, where it does not profit from it, but yet still has to upkeep that building and run that building at a loss? See, that's where the problem happens. How do you do that? People want to buy a building and run it at a profit, so they make a profit, right? Then they can acquire another building and more real estate as the assets that they have accrue in value. They can use some of those assets as to get more loans, right? As I forgot the name of the word that they use for that, right? Well, you have a certain amount of money, you can use it to get more money, more loans, right? The amount of taxpayer dollars we'll use to fraud is staggering. Well, I wrote, why do we keep electing liars and thieves? Why do so few good men run for public office? Well, one, it's too expensive, right? The common man can't run for public office. It's almost impossible, especially when you get up to the president level. You need millions and millions of dollars to run for president. You need people to raise money for you. You need fundraisers and all kinds of stuff. You literally don't have a chance unless you're part of one of the two parties. Otherwise, you're not funded and kept out of the debates on purpose and the political process. It's controlled by both parties, so a third can never exist. That's really what it's about, right? The Democratic and Republican parties are created so that a third party will not be able to exist. Therefore, they have all the control. One of their group is always going to be in power. Leftist group Monarcha trains activists in Minnesota church for anti-ICE actions. The group gathered more than 1,000 people inside a Minnesota church on Saturday for training on how to interact with ICE agents in public. There's no need to, just interact with them the way you would a police officer. Respect them and don't try to stop them and hinder their duties in any way, their movement. Leave them alone, in other words. Don't interact with them unless you have business with them or they have business with you. Most people don't have any business with ICE, right? If you're an American citizen, ICE has no meaning to you. They're not going to be coming to your door then, probably, as long as you're an American citizen and you have a passport. The only people that have a problem with ICE are illegal aliens. So let them do their job, stay out of their way, let them remove the illegal aliens from your community, and that will help your community immensely. So why would you want to stop them? Well, because I'm a leftist plant. I want the leftist idea to go through. I want these people to replace me and all the others who don't like it. Especially if you happen to be Republican. I want them to replace you. DHS fact checks Rep. Ilhan Omar's claim ICE is disappearing U.S. citizens. I haven't heard of U.S. citizens being disappeared by ICE. Maybe a few have been wrapped up in things, but maybe they got a fake passport. You got to understand. There's people faking passports, right? The U.S. passport is one of the most difficult to fake. It has multiple holograms, a chip inside of it. That chip also tracks your movement, I'm assuming. Newsom's California deficit climbs to $22 billion next year. Spending's increased by $135 billion since Newsom took office. That's January 11, 2026 article, I believe. Sorry. The number must be higher is my guess. Yeah. I mean, look at how much more he's spending. The deficit's got to be more like $60 billion or more. Disgusting details blow up Mondani's praise of government-backed apartment building. You should have looked into the building first. There's plenty of buildings that are mismanaged in New York. Over time, they become mismanaged. Trump signs executive order to protect Venezuelan oil revenue and U.S. accounts. How are you going to do that? How do we know how much oil is in our accounts? How much money? You don't know. The action comes 1 week after U.S. forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. So there's obviously something under Venezuela that they're not telling us. That's what I think. Is it a portal? Is it... who knows? Greenland could be an inner Earth portal. Or is it just the fact that there's an H-bomb sitting underneath it all this time that nobody's ever found? Somali councilman resigns after days in office amid fraud scandal. So there's another Somali guy that got into office, probably illegally. He's not even supposed to be here and has to resign. Major New York City hospital accuses nurses union of protecting drunk, stoned staffers as thousands go on strike. Well, they could be hitting the meds, right? Some of these hospitals are horribly run in New York, I gotta say. They're not run very well. The treatment is subpar at best, unless you're at one of the more expensive ones. They charged a shit ton of money. For instance, my mother had to go in for a procedure for a blood clot removal that cost over $100,000 to her insurance. Of course, she has great insurance. She didn't have to pay for it, but what if you were just a regular person and you don't have any insurance, let's say, or you're just somebody that didn't have a good pension or somebody that didn't have a good health care plan and you don't have any health care? What are you going to... you think they're going to remove that blood clot from you? No, they're going to let you die. Because you don't have the $100,000 to afford for that procedure to get done to you. Or for a different procedure that might cost $50,000. They'll still let you die. So they can... and then what happens? The nurses go on strike. Okay, you have a right to do that. But then the mayor goes and joins the picket line. That's not how most mayors operate. They might... in solidarity with certain groups do that, but they won't join the picket line most times. And I think the city is the one that they're being sued, so he's actually joining a picket line against himself. U.S. stock slide and gold surges after DOJ opens criminal probe into Fed chair. Yeah, I mean, look at the Dow. It's at 49,000. Are you kidding me? We never corrected. The whole time Biden's in office, the market never corrected and imploded. Why didn't the market implode under Biden? We needed the market to implode. But it never did it? No. Most of these stocks are all bullshit. These people are invested in crap, right? But then all the pensions go down the toilet if that happens. All the seniors who have their pensions and invested in all these stock market, they go down the toilet and there's no money for them anymore if the stock market crashes. So they couldn't let it crash, could they? No, it would have brought in something like the Depression times 10 if they did that now. Zoran Mamdani, crime transition advisor, once raged she didn't care if protesters burned Target down. So this is the crime transition advisor? Doesn't sound like a good choice. So guys, I need to take a quick break. I was trying to push through, but I'm on zero beverage here. I need something, a soda, a coffee, something with alcohol in it, maybe a Jolt. Remember those Jolt sodas? I never drank those. Too much caffeine. Yeah, lay off those Red Bulls too. Don't drink that shit. It's all garbage. Most sodas are garbage too. I wouldn't advise drinking soda. Try to drink something healthy. Water, coconut water, something good for you. That's better. I need a caffeine something caffeinated right now. My brain's starting to shut down. So I'm going to take that quick break. I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. We're doing talking about a lot of subjects right now. This is, I think, show number 946 or 947. I'm pretty much feeling like I'm going to go to like show 1000. And, if nothing major's gone down by then, I'm going to take a break. And we'll probably step back from it for a while. Or maybe do some different kind of commentary. Well, I'll just do like a half-hour show where I tell you what I think's going on and maybe like access a few articles, but not like in the same way, right? So we'll see. But I do feel like I need somewhat of a break after 6 years doing this. I thought we would have resolved these issues all by now, but obviously something has gone wrong in this plan, or that the plan that these people had was trying to hack your reality with this cube business the whole time, right? They're showing you something. Oh, you're in a movie. Well, who has control of the movie? And why are they making the movie go on so long? And why is nothing happening, a major arrests happening yet of any of these people? Why are the Clintons getting older and older, and now they're saying we're not going to even go and we're not going to even give our testimony? Why is Pelosi and all these people getting older and older and they're never getting arrested? Why is Schumer older and older and not getting arrested? You're seeing these people get away with it all, right? And I don't know the answer if they're ever going to be brought to justice. It doesn't appear so at this point, does it? So friends, I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. We've always tried to give the honest opinion of what we think is going on, what I think is going on, and I'm never going to deviate from that. Right? I'm troubled at what I'm seeing from this administration, period. I'll just leave it there. So I hope you're well. I'm going to go get this beverage. In the meantime, you can do some push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees, and I'll be right back. Thanks, friends. Okay, I'm back. Thanks, friends. I needed that break. So Mamdani's crime transition advisor raged that she didn't even care if protesters burned Target down. Well, that's not the person that should be doing that job then, right? This guy's continuing to put in people that not only don't have any experience, but seem to be bigots as well, some of them. That don't seem to like white people, they don't seem to like Jews, they don't seem to like people who have any kind of assets that they might want to invest, no matter their race. I mean, it's an insult in a place like New York to say that all homeowners are one race, first of all, when it's one of the most multicultural cities on the face of the earth, where all kinds of different people own property here, whether it's a condo, a co-op, a building, maybe a commercial space, or a piece of land, commercial or industrial land. A commercial space wouldn't usually be a piece of land, the whole land being a piece of commercial, but certain land in the cities are zoned a certain way, whether it's industrial, residential, or other, right, where you can build certain kinds of properties on it or not, depending. Like you can't build an industrial property in the middle of Times Square. That area is not zoned industrial. It's zoned residential, most of it, right? Some of it's not residential. Some of it's zoned for other things like businesses, or in another way where you can make a certain kind of business there, or commercial space, commercial building. Trump appears to blank on the $2,000 tariff checks he promised Americans. When did I do that? Well, see, this is what I'm talking about. First of all, if Trump is the real Trump, whoever that is, it's not the short, blonde-haired Trump that we're seeing now on the plane and doing all these things. this is an obvious fake of Trump doing this particular speech. I mean, if you look at him, it's the blonde-haired Trump. It doesn't have any white or gray hair. Is this the real Trump? Did I show the other picture of him? Hang on a second. You promised $2,000 checks to Americans based...
You promised $2,000.
Yeah, this is not... See, this is showing him as different, but when they showed him on the plane, he looks to be blonde-haired. Here. They took the other photo out, but this one shows him he's blonde, right? He doesn't have any white in his hair at all. Is he coloring it again, or... Remember, we were seeing a taller Trump. This Trump doesn't appear to be 6'3", just because of how he... I don't know, is he 6'3"? That would looks like Carolyn Levitt's at his shoulder, which means she'd be like, what, 5'11" or 10? Is he wearing lifts in his shoes? We don't know if this is the real... I know there's... My point is, if there's a double of you walking around, are you going to say something about that? If the other side is impersonating you, in other words, right? You're just going to sit back and let that happen? See how that doesn't make any sense logically when you think about it? I wrote an obvious fake double of Trump. Biden admin likely paid out $84.6 million in error for Minnesota housing assistance, including the hundreds who are already dead. Same thing's going on in New York. You got dead people on the rolls, you're paying out dead people's Social Security that shouldn't get it. It's a triple scam. Cuban president responds to Trump warnings over the island. Trump planning an Upper West Wing to be added to the White House. We're considering the idea of a modest one-story addition to the West Wing. Why? What's going to go on up there? Far-left streamer Andrew Mercado leads mobs surrounding Nick Sortor and Cam Higbee in car, smashing the windows and threatening violence. Quote, "I'll knock you out. I'll get the whole effing state down here. I swear to God I will." I don't think you're going to get the whole state, because the whole state doesn't give a shit, first of all, and the whole state has nothing to do with you, right? You can't stalk people who are press. Is Nick, this guy, press, though? Or is he just a streamer who's, you know, if you're actual press affiliated, you're not allowed to be stalked, right? But nobody is. You shouldn't be stalked, period. Even if you're just doing a stream and it's not okay to do this. He's got to file a complaint and a restraining order or something. Trump announces a 25% tariff on any nation trading with Iran. In this article, the photo of Trump shows something in his eye. Let me see if I could see that again. There's a reflection coming out of his eye in this photo. Let's see if they took it down yet. Nope, there it is. What's that in Trump's eye, dude? Is Trump a lizard? Is this Trump been taken over? He could be. He doesn't look the same as the other photos of Trump. He's degraded quite a bit over the years. This is blue-tied Trump, and there's a reflection coming out of his left eye, which something looks weird about it. So Trump is announcing a 25% tariff on any, but there's a lot of countries that trade with Iran, right? So now there's all these countries are going to have extra tariffs against them. Illegal alien shot by Border Patrol after repeatedly ramming officers, charged with aggravated assault. They didn't kill this guy. A new Nick Shirley video shows grift that is 10 times worse and will cause World War III. So there's all kinds of grift. I was wondering, why they let all these people from Somalia into these places for? Now you know why. They do all kinds of different grifts and different scams. Greenland calls on NATO for protection from possible U.S. invasion. I guess somebody needs to ask Trump the question about the broken arrow that took place, right? The plane crash in 1968 that took place in this area where 4 H-bombs were lost out of a B-52 that exploded. These guys couldn't put out a cabin fire, had to allegedly eject out of a B-52 Stratofortress or whatever, a B-52 bomber that was carrying multiple H-bombs. And I don't think they got all the H-bombs back. Mayor Zoran Mamdani raised his eyebrows by joining the 15,000 striking New York City nurses on the picket line. Soccer moms are taking up a dangerous new hobby, opinion piece, becoming ice saboteurs. Yeah, you might get hurt doing that though, right? It might not be such a attractive thing to do now that you realize, well, I might be shot if I try to ram my car into an ICE officer and hurt them. Right? That could be considered a deadly weapon, right? I mean, if you're ramming your car and trying to hit somebody and hurt, you could kill them. It's a deadly weapon, a car, right? Even if you pin an ICE agent in between two cars, you could kill him or do serious damage to him or her. You could break their legs, and spinal cord injuries and stuff. You can't use your car as a weapon. You will get shot at. So people need to be aware of that. It's one thing to protest on your feet at a certain location in a peaceful way. It's another thing to become violent against certain groups. They're going to become violent against you if you become violent. And when you become violent with the police, they usually become more violent back to you than you became at them. That's usually how cops do it, right? Part of the mistake that the NYPD made is they took the cop's nightstick away and tried to replace it with the taser, which is a good weapon in a sense, and a good way to incapacitate somebody sometimes, but it's also dangerous in the sense that those prongs can go into your brain, your eye, or something and do a lot of damage. People have had the prongs go into their head and died, hit their head in the ground and died and got hurt. Because it makes you seize up and fall like a statue, right? Is the nightstick a better weapon? I think so. Especially if someone's coming at me with a knife. I'd rather have a nightstick than try to get that taser out in time and hope that I get one of the prongs going. I'd rather get that nightstick out, have it as a weapon that I can keep distance between myself and somebody with, and also strike, right? I can use my legs and also strike with that weapon. I can use my other fist and strike you, as well as use the nightstick to strike you, to asphyxiate you possibly if you become violent with me. That's why a lot of cops, they took it away. They were using it as a chokehold on really violent people, which is what it should be used for. If you're violent and a big guy and out of control, how is a smaller officer supposed to get control of you without shooting you? Well, they want you to take out the taser and hope you get off a round before this guy charges you. It's faster for me to get my nightstick out and club you with it, or have it as a defensive weapon where I can use it to create space between you. They really made a mistake by doing that, and by stopping the cops doing walking beats like in their own neighborhood where they lived. That's what they used to do. There's not enough street patrol. Iran is now slaughtering civilians who aren't involved in anti-regime protests, witnesses warn, as death toll surges. So Busfield was missing the actor. He's been apprehended at his mountainside home. Melissa Gilbert's West Wing, his wife, was upset about it. He says, he claims these claims are revenge, he says, after kids were dropped from the cast. He's saying these are revenge accusations from some of the kids that got dropped. He also had said at one point that it could have been possible, he said, that he had inappropriately touched somebody. That's what he had said, so he didn't rule it out, apparently. So I'll have to see, is this something that's being done to tarnish this guy's reputation? There will be a nasty thing to do, but it's been done before, where people have made up fake rape allegations, people have made up fake other stuff to try to tarnish somebody's reputation, and it could cost a lot of money to get your reputation back, especially if you have to go through extended court hearings and court dates, right? You have to retain a lawyer, and then if you want, you have to try to sue them for slandering your name, and it costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. But meanwhile, this person could just spew out anything they want on the internet pretty much, right? That's why you got to be careful what you say. Everything's allegedly, right? The allegation is that he sexually abused somebody. That's the allegation. We don't know if it's true. My guess is it is. Because most of the time, I think that these people, a lot of them, unfortunately, are abusing people because they, in fact, themselves were abused. And so they continue this disgusting cycle. Defiant Trump vows reckoning in Minnesota. Every place we go, crime comes down. In Chicago, despite a weak and incompetent governor and mayor fighting us all the way, a big improvement was made. Well, it may be that you got some illegals out of there. That's great. But what about the actual gang problem that's still imprinted there? Right? There's no way you got MS-13 out of there. There's no way you got all the Tren de Aragua. There's no way you got the Crips and Bloods out. There's no way you got other smaller affiliate gangs of those out. No way. There's no fucking way you got all those people because there's too many of them. You're talking about tens of thousands of gangbangers. In LA, it could be as many as 100,000. We don't even know the numbers anymore. So, yeah, you made somewhat of a difference, but what about, is there other bad Somalis still left in Minnesota? Sure. Sure, no question. And what about Michigan? What about Dearborn? What about all these different cities where there are a lot of bad Muslims that are doing a lot of damage? Taking it over. State Department revokes 100,000 visas for criminal activity. That's good. ICE detains New York City Council employee at routine immigration appointment. That's interesting. They said this guy has no business being in the country. How is he working for the New York City Council if he's not supposed to be even in the country, right? So you can see there's a lot of problems here. Bill and Hillary Clinton skip House depositions and Epstein investigation. They're just skipping it. We're not coming, dude. Isn't that convenient for them? I wrote, arrest these scum. What are you doing? They just said they're not coming in. That's contempt, right? But is it contempt of Congress or court? It's contempt of Congress. So put them in jail. Put them both in jail until they capitulate and decide that they are going to give a deposition. Or do they not have to? Is this mandatory or not? Timothy Busfield admitted it's highly likely he touched kids on set amid child sex abuse probe, warrant reveals. Well, if you're saying it's highly likely you inappropriately touched them, or you touched them, I mean, what does that mean? You touched them on their shoulder, or did you inappropriately touch them? It's one thing to pat a little kid on the head, hey, you did a great job or something in a scene. It's another thing to sexually abuse somebody, right? What did you do, allegedly? Trump tells Minnesotans day of reckoning and retribution is coming after the state sues over ICE raids. New York Post. New York City Council employee detained by ICE as DHS says he had no legal right to be in the United States. So if has no legal right to be here, how did he get a job with the New York City Council? Who gave him a social security card so he can get the job? What's this guy's social security card number? I bet you it's brand spanking new card, right? Teen charged for arson at Mississippi synagogue he targeted over the building's Jewish ties. This guy burnt up half of his body or his hands so badly he'll probably never be able to use one of his hands again. He called the congregation a synagogue of Satan. I've heard that term used before. Trump admit ends temporary protected status for all Somalis in the United States. For all. That's something I can agree with, right? Country conditions in Somalia have improved to the point it no longer meets the law's requirement. Yeah, send them all back. Every single one. Send every Somali back that's here, period. All of them back that came over. Every single person send back. Not one or two, not 1,000. All of them. And then go into Dearborn and start clearing that out. I don't think that's what he's going to do, but House Republican introduces bill to authorize Trump to take Greenland. So that's the first time I've heard that used. Both parties seem to have lost their minds, I wrote. How do you make a bill to seize another nation who's peaceful and has not attacked you? They're just putting bills, hey, let's take these guys. This isn't a shopping mall. This isn't a country shopping mart where you can, hey, I want to take, Cuba looks good. It's called close to the U.S. Let's take that too. Let's have an extension. Let's build some more islands that connect, I don't know, the Keys to Cuba. What are you talking about? What are you doing, dude? These are islands that people live on that have autonomies, right? You can't just go on a shopping spree. Hey, I want to take over Greenland. I like the way where it is, and I want it. Well, then you could offer them money. If they don't take it, you can't force them to sell themselves to you. Now, back in the old days, you just go in with your army and you take it, right? And there was nobody that was going to say anything about it. If they were, they'd try to stop you, and you'd either kill them or they'd kill you, and then it'd be over. There'd be nobody else objecting, right? We just took over Greenland. You got a problem with it, Canada? I don't think so. Okay. We're just going to set up over here now and go back to what you were doing. That's how the old days worked. There was no protest. There was no, people protesting that this is a genocide. No, they were all dead. There was nobody to protest. They were either enslaved, dead, or sucked up into the new culture. How do you think the Persians got so huge? They just sucked up every other culture around them until they got big. Yeah, you can keep your religion. Sure. We're just going to come in and take over. You can keep everything as it was before. They learned from the Romans and what they did. Or they learned from the Greeks and what they did. Whatever. Whoever came first, I forgot. I think it was the Persians came first before the Romans. Right? They were fighting the 300, right? My point is, they didn't want to take it all over. They just wanted to have the power over the money and everything, right? And you could keep your stupid little religion, and you could do all your stuff you want, and you can keep yourself thinking you're free, but you're not free. We own you. We rule you. That's how it's always been in different levels, right? Different cultures have risen up to great heights and then fallen, and it seems like it keeps happening, right? But they're always controlled by somebody in the darkness that you can't see. Trump admin ends temporary protected status for the Somalis. That's good. That's something we can all agree on. House Republican introduces bill to take Greenland. No, that's a weird one. France's Marine Le Pen launches appeal against embezzlement, so she was falsely convicted. She should actually be the ruler, the president of France. They railroaded her out of the last election, right? I think they railroaded her more than once. Cash better get them out now. Trump orders cleanup of corrupt FBI scum. Well, what has this guy been doing? Why did Bongino leave so fast? Because he realized they're not cleaning it out. This isn't the Trump I thought that was before. There's a different Trump in there, he's realized, right? That's why I think he left. He met Trump individually and realized it wasn't the right one. It wasn't him. And I think he had met Trump before. So it'd be pretty easy to figure it out. If he's not the right height and I'm 5'10", and all of a sudden I'm looking you eye to eye, when before you were towering over me at 6'3", I would remember that. That's why I'm saying it doesn't make sense. If I'm the real Trump, if that Trump hasn't died or still exists, wouldn't you be screaming from the rafters from wherever you're hiding? These people are fakes. That's not me. I never said that. Is that why that one Trump said, hey, what $2,000 tariff check? I never said that. Is that why? Because he's a clone. Another Trump said that. The real one or the fake one, whatever you want to say it is. I don't think there is a real Trump. I think that Trump died already, is my guess. And they've been using different clones to try to keep this bullshit going. Articles of impeachment against Waltz may be released tomorrow, says Minnesota State Republican. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. If he comes out of the mountain, I'll say I was wrong. I don't see him coming out of the mountain. Leftist agitators stalk and threaten to kill journalists covering Minneapolis unrest. This kid needs to travel with some kind of posse if you're going to do this. You can't do it alone. Not in these places. They'll kill you. They'll stalk you, dox you, and kill you. Or hurt you real bad. They might kill you. I wouldn't be staying in these states. You want to go do an investigative journalism thing? Go do it and then get the hell out of that area. Don't be staying anywhere around there. Get yourself mad rural or into another state as quickly as possible and stay there and then go back in. But don't let these people dox you, and don't, you got to have some kind of either go in with a disguise or something, right? If they know what you look like, you got to be careful. Mexico shinebound, good conversation with Trump on security and drugs. So it doesn't look like we're going into Mexico. Where's the cartel? They're in Mexico, right? We now know, what to know about the drug causing a withdrawal crisis in fentanyl. So they're doing something even more devious with this fentanyl. They're putting other drugs in it now that are super addictive, that aren't fentanyl, but they're in the fentanyl. So then you become addicted to that drug. So they made it even more addictive, if that's even possible, with the adding of other drugs. So it's bad enough that you're highly addicted to the fentanyl, but you're also highly addicted to this other drug, which is even more addictive, that you have to get. So if it's not in the fentanyl, then what do you do? So these people, whoever did this to us, and they're doing it within the country, it's Anagos. It's Dick Anagos, like he's saying. They're using Planet Fitness to money launder. They're using casinos to money launder. They're using racetracks to money launder, if that's what Mike Gill's information is correct. But why didn't Trump act on any of that information? Is some of the same people that are in those networks in networks that he was a part of? Because if you look back at the 1989 meeting that we showed on Mr. Maxwell's yacht, right? Ghislaine Maxwell's father's yacht. And you have press people there, and you have people from the UN there. It looks like that just big decisions were being made about their future. Or was this the end of the Iran-Contra affair, and they wanted to just kind of clean that business all up, and then they'd have 4 years of Bush Sr. running the thing to hopefully get the New World Order in that they wanted. That's what they were also planning. And Trump was right there with them. So if he's the hero, if Trump's the hero, then why is he meeting with these people, all these bad people in 1989 on Maxwell's yacht if he's the hero? And was he reporting what they were doing to somebody else, or was he in on it with them? That's for you to decide. I've already made my decision from the research I've done over these 6 years. And before, because I knew Trump before this time. I knew of Trump. And I knew his background. So I have an extensive background of knowing Trump. I know his family's history going back several generations. We look back into Trump's family used to be named not Trump, it was Drumpf, I think. It was D-R-U-M-P-F, I think. They had a different name, and I believe on one side of the family there was Jewish lineage, if I remember right. West Wing star Timothy Busfield has surrendered. Bill and Hillary Clinton declare themselves above the law. Defy Epstein subpoena. That's going to be part of the title. Clinton's defy Epstein subpoena. Clinton's defy Epstein subpoena. Trump orders 2,500 Somalis out of the country. Pentagon paid 8 figures for mysterious device believed to be cause of Havana syndrome. So we never found out what was causing the sickness. Right, they said some people down in Cuba were they using this on some people and messing with them? Sorry about the siren, guys. Argentina repays $2.5 billion to the U.S. Treasury, UPI. House Oversight Committee weighing Bill Clinton contempt charge. He might be in contempt. I think he is. Eric Adams tells a heckler to go F yourself as New York City mayor gets booed at airport. Trump flipped off a lunatic who called him pedophile protector, the White House confirms. Trump announces sanctuary cities and states will lose federal funds February 1st. So that's going to be big. Whether or not they can fund the government's going to be big. I don't think they can. Greenland's prime minister rebuffs Trump's effort to acquire the island. We choose Denmark. We choose NATO. ICE agents haul driver out of car. We showed you that. There's idiots all around. FBI raided the home of a female Washington Post journalist as part of a probe into leaked government secrets. Well, you have all kinds of people that in the past 5 years have leaked secrets to China. People in the military, certain people have done it. All kinds of stuff we've reported on. Silver was up $5.02 at the open to 92.67. Let's see what it's at now. Did it go back up to 92? Oh yeah, it's up $5.74 now. Like I said, it's gotta get to 100 quick now. Why? Well, because the arbitrage is exposed. There's not supposed to be a $9, $10, $11, $12 difference between the price of silver and the Hong Kong market, or the Hang Seng, or whatever market over there is where people buy silver, as opposed to the COMEX in the United States. It should be pretty close, right? There could be a bid and an ask price, but that's not going to be $12 difference. No, it's going to be within a cent or even a dollar or something, right? It's not going to be $12. You shouldn't be able to buy a silver contract in the United States, get on a plane, go to China or Hong Kong or wherever it is and say, I want to take physical delivery of that silver, takes physical delivery, and then sell that silver at a $12 premium as to where you bought it at. That should be illegal. But that's what's going on. Now imagine what billionaires, whales, and institutional banks have been doing all this time. What do you think they've been doing? Exactly what I just said. Now what's happening is somebody, whether it's whales or the banks, removed I think it was over 1 million ounces of silver out of the COMEX market, out of the market completely, which means they took delivery of it, or they decided, hey, I want to take my silver somewhere else. I don't feel comfortable having it in the COMEX. I want my silver overseas in China. Why? Because it's worth $12 more an ounce. Why would I want to keep it here where it's worth $12 less? So they're sucking, all of the silver is being sucked out of the west and it's going east because the prices are so different and they shouldn't be. Gold's at up $54 to $4,658.20. Silver's at $93.39, up $5.74, which is a 6% profit, 6.5%. Platinum's up 24 to 24.1060, up 76.60. Palladium's up almost to 1900, 1899.90, up 41.40. Silver's exploding. It's going to go to 100 because it has to, and then it's going to go to 200 and 300 over the next year and a half, 2 years. Is my guess, unless it goes even faster. I predicted $100 by February. I was off by 2 weeks. It's going to hit before, probably next week. I'm thinking, unless there's a couple down days, not going to be really. It's just going to keep going up because it has to. It has to get closer to the overseas market to correct this imbalance. That has to be corrected soon. Silver is being used as an arbitrage. Trump says NATO must back U.S. bid to put Greenland in the hands of the U.S. Warns anything less is unacceptable. And mocks the island's 2 dog sleds defense again. I wrote, the U.S. Mint is selling American Buffalo silver ounce gold coins for $5,340 an ounce. That's a huge markup. That's almost $1,000 markup. I can get them cheaper on other sites, right? Let's see, how much is a ounce of gold on... Let's look at gold ounce real quick and just see what they're going for. Let's look at a bar of Perth Mint gold. A 1 ounce gold bar from the Perth Mint is going for $4,815. That's cheaper than $5,300. Why is the U.S. Mint charging such a massive markup? Well, because I don't think they know what the price of silver is going to be in the next 6 weeks. They might put a price out and start selling silver, right? Rounds and coins, and say, oh my gosh, we didn't put the right price in. Now it's already gone up $25 since we put this out. We're losing money hand over fist. That's why they almost can't do it. Or they can't sell it at the price that they want to sell it at. They have to put $1,000 markup on a gold ounce. We have run out. The U.S. government halts sales as silver hits $91. This was a video that this guy came out with that I think you should watch. I wrote, major whales and corporations are taking physical silver out of the COMEX market. Excuse me. Where are they taking it? On planes overseas is my guess. to the place wherever it's trading at the highest value over that, which is I think is the United Arab Emirates and China, Hong Kong, etc. JP Morgan is long on silver, this article said. At one point, JP Morgan had paper shorts on silver to the tune of $200 million, I wrote. Why did they sell that position and begin to acquire massive amounts of silver? Now you know, because there was a $12 difference in the price of silver between Asian markets and the COMEX. People were buying paper silver contracts and taking physical delivery overseas, and instantly their silver was worth $12 more, or $7 more, or $8 more, depending on where they took delivery, right? If they took it in the Asian market, it could be as much as 12. A massive 10+% markup in price, which should be illegal. That's silver arbitrage. Well, you're controlling the amount of silver illegally. Arson suspect posts photo with burns from hospital after Mississippi's largest synagogue raised an attack. Yeah, now you're scarred for life for your sin. Everybody can see what you've done and will remember you for what you did. J.D. Vance to hold talks with Danish, Greenland foreign ministers. Smithsonian sends cache of files to the White House about all the documents, all their different exhibits and what they plan on doing. They don't want the Smithsonian doing anything that they deem, I guess, anti-American. I don't know. House oversight weighing Bill Clinton contempt charge. Somali suitcase stash. Feds say $130 million was moved from Ohio airport to Minnesota on way overseas, officials told Just the News that Transportation Security Administration agents tracked and flagged about $136 million in bulk cash and outbound luggage at the passenger checkpoints at John Glenn Columbus International Airport since November of 2023. This follows reports that millions of dollars were discovered leaving Minnesota airports. Yep. Danish intel warned last year about Russian and Chinese military goals toward Greenland and Arctic. Denmark's politicians are downplaying Trump's claims of Russian and Chinese threats to Greenland, but Danish intelligence warned about Russia and China in stark terms. Well, then why are they so resistant to us being there if they think that Russia and or China is a problem? Trump's poisonous habit should be killing him, RFK Jr. says. Is the real Trump even alive, or is clones alive, right? If he's eating all this crappy food for years and he's drinking Diet Cokes and all this shit, why isn't he dead? Most people's stomachs would have corroded away and had all kinds of problems eating all that garbage all those years and not exercising. Well, he doesn't drink any alcohol apparently ever. He's never done any drugs allegedly, but I've heard rumors that he was a coke addict, so I don't know. I don't remember him ever drinking or doing any drugs. DOJ investigates Renee Good's wife Becca for actions on day of shooting, ties to militant far-left groups. The Department of Justice is looking into ties between Renee and Becca Good and far-left activist groups that have been courting mayhem in the state as both the fraud investigation and federal efforts to remove illegal alien criminals ramp up. It's obviously there's groups working. I mean, they keep finding these articles, these advertisements for, do you want to be an anti-Trump, agitator, right? You want to be an anti-Trump protester. It pays this amount. Oregon shocking number of phony voters. New York too, I would bet. So there's all kinds of phony voters all over the rolls. They never got cleaned. That's what I got for you this week. Obviously, silver is being manipulated. It has been for a long time. That's finally being exposed in a way that people can understand. And I think what's going to happen is that a lot of the people that have probably been realizing this for years, who've maybe listened to shows like mine and others who have been talking about it, have stacked enough silver that when this stuff goes to 200-300 or higher, they're going to be able to help themselves and friends and who knows, right? So I hope you've been stacking silver and gold in the past, in the future. I hope you are, and I hope that we all get rich together after doing that for a time. I think that's why they were selling you on this other stuff like the Iraqi dinar scam, so that you would invest the majority of your money in those things and not in silver and gold, which have been historically the things that have helped you, you have helped people to hold their value of their currency, right? When people were worried in the past that their currency might be devalued or messed around with, meddled with, they've moved their currency into other kinds of investments, right? Like land or gold and silver, artwork, maybe expensive cars, jewelry, things of that nature, right? Diamonds, etc. Precious gems, the things like that, right? That have historically held value over time. And that's we're at one of these sort of inflection points where over time they've been crashing the system on purpose over and over to not only enrich themselves but to keep their control over us intact, right? Where we're constantly in a state of lack and in a state of not understanding what's going on, in a state of dis-ease. So I hope those days are ending soon because I'm exhausted. I don't think I could do this much longer. I've been having physical problems myself. I've been a person that I think has been targeted. Like I said, I just had a panic attack like the other day. I haven't had them in years. The energy's changing. It's becoming very difficult to keep myself focused and to give this much time to doing the news. And maybe I shouldn't be doing it anymore because a lot of the information is negative and it's keeping us in a negative headspace. And that was never my intention. Like I said, my intention was to follow the news, to follow the information until the point where we would be able to fully understand what's happening to us. But when the full information is never shared, then we can never get to that conclusion. That's the unfortunate part of that. And so you have to understand that you may be in a situation where you'll never know the full status of what's happened, or you'll never know everything that's gone down unless groups of people come into power at one point that are willing to share all that with us. And in the past, those groups of people have not presented themselves to us because they are not allowed to present themselves to us. Good and honest men and women are kept out of politics by the sheer amount of time, money, and effort it takes to win a political race. Even a small political race these days is difficult and needs money to do. Most people don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge to do it. And so we have to make our political process different. We have to change how we do our politics. We have to allow for anybody should be allowed to run for president. Anybody. And should be given some kind of freedom of the press so that they can get their message out to large groups of people and not be censored in any way, shape, or form. And until we get to a point where we can do that and we have a society that demands these things, we are going to continue to be, unfortunately, I think, ruled over by forces that are hiding in the darkness. And until we can expose that darkness and expose those forces and expose what the movie is and who's really running this thing and trying to hack our reality, all the information needs to come out. And if people can't deal with that, then that's their problem, but it needs to come out. And the problem is there's groups of people who continue to slow roll this thing and slow roll the information coming out that needs to come out to fully wake up people so that they can survive. And it's not going to happen much longer because the information is going to come out whether or not you want it to or not, is what I think, eventually. As more and more whistleblowers come forward, as your grip as their grip over us falls away more and more, as the energy changes, they're not going to have any way to stop it. And so I'm hoping for those days to come sooner rather than later. I'm going to continue to do these shows until I get to 1,000, and then I'm going to have an inflection point where we're going to really take a serious look around us and see where we stand, and if I want to continue the show in that same incantation as it is, or will I maybe change to a half-hour show twice a week or something like that, where I'll just talk about what I think's going on, and maybe people will be more interested in that, and where we could talk about our ascension together and how we're going to go forward and make a new world that's going to be for people and not for corporations, and not where corporations own us anymore. How are we going to get our true human sovereignty back, and how can we do that together where we're making a new world at the same time? It's going to be a very long, drawn-out process, I would think. It's going to be difficult, and it's not going to happen right away, right? These are huge fundamental changes in the way societies are set up. And I think we've learned enough lessons on what we don't want that we know what we don't want anymore, right? We don't want just one or two political parties that control everything. We don't want massive corporations to be controlling huge amounts of resources and money. We don't want that, right? So we have to go to a new system. What that system is, I don't know. It's not socialism, obviously. It's something that has never been tried before. It's going to have to take the people to come together and figure it out. It's going to have to allow land ownership. It's going to have to allow people to own certain things. It's going to have to be not collectivized. It's not going to be like where you work as a, well, everybody works for the collective's good. You know, it can't be like that. Because we don't, humanity doesn't want to be like that, I don't think. They want to have their own individualism while also understanding that we're part of a larger whole. That doesn't mean we want to be part of the whole every second. We might want to go off on an individual level and be an individual for a while and do different things. That's how we get, that's how you get innovation, right? Is somebody going off by themselves and thinking about something for a while and saying, wow, what if we do this? What if I did that? And maybe sometimes that's in a hive mind situation that answer comes up, but sometimes it isn't, right? So friends, I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching. It's been an honor to be here all these years with you, doing these shows. I guess maybe that's why I went back to school at the age of 37 to pursue communications. I didn't know it then, but in years later, almost 20 years later, I was going to be doing some kind of a news punditry show. I never really thought that was what would happen. I never got a job in communications all the years that I tried. Until I started We Are the News in 2020, when I was pissed off at all these pundits watching how they did. I said, I can do it better than that. I know some of the stuff that these people are talking about is not correct, in fact. So friends, it's an honor to be here with you as always. I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your sense of space. If you choose using the I am attribution to say I am each day and something positive about yourself, you can literally speak your reality into existence. So be careful what you say, right? And what you wish for, what you're thinking about. Try to be positive in all the things you say and do. It's not easy to do. Try to observe without judgment. And try to be kind to yourself and others and love self at all times, right? I hope you're doing well, friends. I'm trying to do those same things. It's difficult to do, but as human beings, we have the ability to learn, to alter behaviors, to acknowledge our own weaknesses and try to learn from them and make ourselves stronger in the end, right? That's what we're really trying to do. Like Bruce Lee was saying, you're trying to really become a more full human being, right? A fully realized human. That's what the Buddhas and certain people were, certain Buddhist monks and things are trying to do. They're trying to ascend to another level of density, to become more than what you were before, right? So friends, I hope you're well. This is your friend in New York, Ash, NPMP News, signing off for now.